have seen it 100 times. A little string like CVE-2021-44228. Maybe in a news headline, maybe in an email from your IT team, maybe just scrolling past. And almost certainly, you nodded along as if it meant something and then moved on. But here is the secret. That one short line is quietly doing 4 completely different jobs at once, and most people, even people in tech, could not tell you what a single one of them is. They smash a name, a score, and a category all together into one blur and call it the bug. So in the next few minutes, we are going to take exactly that string apart, piece by piece. And we are going to do it by following one real, famous example all the way through, from the moment a researcher found it to the night half the internet stayed up patching. By the end, you will be able to look at any CVE and read it like a plain English sentence. Let us start with the most common mistake of all, thinking a CVE is a virus. So first, what a CVE is not. A CVE is not a virus. It is not a piece of malware. It is not a hacker tool. And it is not something that infects your computer. You cannot catch a CVE. It is also not, by itself, a danger rating. The number in the middle does not tell you how bad the flaw is. So, what is it? A CVE is simply a name, a public, agreed upon name for one specific security flaw in one specific product. CVE stands for Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures, and the entire point of it is shared language. Before the system existed, one company would call a flaw the buffer thing, another would call it bug 9, a third would give it some internal ticket number, and nobody could be sure they were all talking about the same problem. The CVE gives that one flaw a single, global, unique label, so the whole world can point at it and agree. Yes, that one. Think of it less like a disease and more like a catalog number in a giant library of known weaknesses. Every CVE starts the same way, as a real weakness, sitting inside a real product. Not a theory, not a maybe. An actual mistake in actual software or hardware that someone is running right now. For our story, that product is a small, almost invisible piece of software called Log4j. You have never opened it, but you have absolutely used it. Log4j is a logging library. Its boring, humble job is to write down what a program is doing, line by line, so developers can look back later. It is built into a staggering number of applications, quietly running underneath banks, game servers, cloud platforms, and government systems all over the world. And buried inside one of its convenience features was a flaw. Under the right conditions, the very act of writing something down, just logging a line of text, could be tricked into running commands the attacker chose. A logger, of all things, could be turned into a way-in. That is the raw weakness. At this point, it has no name, no number, and no score. It is just a dangerous mistake that someone is about to discover. So a security researcher finds this flaw and realizes how serious it is. What happens next is the part most people never see. They do not post it publicly. They report it, quietly and privately, to an organization called a CNA. CNA stands for CVE Numbering Authority, and it is the heart of how this whole system stays orderly. A CNA is an organization that has been officially authorized to hand out CVE names for a defined slice of the world, usually for its own products. The makers of Log4j sit inside the Apache Software Foundation, and Apache is itself a CNA, so the report goes to the people who actually own the code, who can confirm it, and who are allowed to assign the official name. Now, you will often hear MITRE mentioned here too, and this is where people get confused. MITRE runs the overall CVE program. It is the root, the coordinator, the keeper of the master lists, but it does not personally name every single flaw. Instead, it delegates that power out to roughly a few hundred CNAs around the world. MITRE only steps in directly when no CNA covers the affected product. So, the CNA assigned the name. MITRE runs the program. 2 different roles, doing 2 different jobs. Now the flaw gets its official identity. The CNA reserves and assigns a CVE ID, and ours is CVE 2021-44228. Let us actually read it, because the format is simple once you know it. It always starts with the letter CVE, then comes a year. People assume that year is when the bug was created, but it is not. It is the year the ID was assigned, which is usually the year it was reported, 2021 in our case. And then comes a sequence number, 4 or more digits long. Here is the single most important thing to understand about that number and the trap that catches almost everyone. It is just a counter. It is not a ranking. CVE 44228 is not more dangerous than CVE 100. It was simply assigned later. A bigger number does not mean a worse flaw. There is no severity, no score, no judgment of any kind baked into the ID. It is a label, like a serial number stamped on a part. All it promises is this: anywhere in the world, this exact string points to this exact flaw and nothing else. Up to now, all of this has been happening behind closed doors on purpose. The researcher, the vendor, and the Sienna coordinate quietly first, so there is a fix ready before the bad guys get the blueprint. But eventually the flaw is published. The CVE record goes live on the public CVE list, and from that moment it is out in the open for everyone. And almost immediately, something else picks it up. In the United States, there is the National Vulnerability Database, the NVD, run by the Government Standards Agency. The NVD watches the CVE list and typically within about an hour of a new record appearing, pulls it in and starts to enrich it. That word, enrich, is key. The bare CVE record is mostly just the name and a description. The NVD layers extra analysis on top. It adds references, it tags which products and versions are affected, and crucially, it attaches two more pieces of information that everyone actually cares about: a severity score and a weakness type. And those two additions are exactly where the confusion we promised to clear up begins. Here's the first of those two add-ons, and it is the one people fuse with the name itself, the score. The score does not come from the CVE system at all. It comes from a separate standard called CVSS. CVSS stands for Common Vulnerability Scoring System, and its whole job is to answer one question: technically, how bad is this flaw? It produces a single number from 0.0 up to 10.0, and the ranges have names. Nothing is a 0. Low is roughly 1 to under 4. Medium runs into the high 6s. High is 7 to under 9. And critical, the top band, is 9.0 and above. So, what did our flaw score? Log4 shell was rated a 10.0, a perfect, maximum 10 out of 10. It does not get any worse than that. It could be attacked over the network. It needed no password and no clicking, and it handed the attacker the keys to the whole machine. That is why, for 1 December, this single CVE became the entire security world's emergency. But now we have to be very careful, because that 10.0 does not mean what most people think it means. This is the trap, and it is worth slowing down for. CVSS measures severity. It does not measure your risk. Those sound like the same thing, and they are not. Severity is a property of the flaw itself, in a vacuum. It asks, assuming this thing is present and reachable, how much damage could it do? Risk is about you, specifically. It asks, is this flaw actually in my systems? Is it exposed where an attacker can reach it? Is anyone even bothering to attack it? And what would I actually lose? A 10.0 on a piece of software you do not even run is, for you, a risk of basically 0. The scoring spec itself says this plainly. The base score reflects the severity according to the flaw's intrinsic characteristics, and it tells you to bring in your own factors, like which assets are exposed and how valuable they are, to judge real-world risk. So a perfect 10 is a loud, honest warning that this flaw is intrinsically devastating. It is not a sentence that says you, personally, are doomed. Severity tells you how sharp the knife is. Only you can know whether it is pointed at you. Now the second thing the NVD attaches, and it answers a different question entirely. The CVE says which flaw. The CVSS says how severe, but neither one tells you what kind of mistake it actually was. That job belongs to CWE. CWE stands for Common Weakness Enumeration, and it is a big, organized catalog, not of individual bugs, but of the underlying types of mistake that cause them. Think of it as the family tree of how software goes wrong. Trusting input you should not have trusted. Failing to check the size of something. Mishandling data that came from outside. Our log4 shell flaw was tagged with weakness types that describe exactly what went wrong. It improperly handled special instructions hidden inside text it was only supposed to log. So here is the clean way to hold it. The CVE is the specific instance, this one flaw, in this one product. The CWE is the category, The general shape of mistake that this flaw is just one example of. Thousands of different CVEs across totally different products can all share the same CVE because they all made the same underlying error. Let us stop and lock this in, because this is the whole reason most people stay confused. When you look at a vulnerability, you are actually looking at three separate things wearing a trench coat and pretending to be one. Thing 1 is the CVE, that is the name, CVE 2021-44228. It identifies, and only identifies. It carries no severity and no judgment. Thing 2 is the CVSS, that is the score, a 10.0. It rates how severe the flaw is in isolation on a scale of 0 to 10. Thing 3 is the CWE, that is the type, the family of mistake the flaw belongs to. So when someone says CVE like it is a danger level, you now know that it's like confusing a person's name with their height. The name does not contain the height. They are different facts about the same thing. A name, a score, and a category. Once those three click apart in your head, a vulnerability record stops looking like noise and starts reading like a sentence. So the flaw is named, scored, and classified. Now the most important thing has to happen. It has to actually get fixed, and the world has to be told how. This is the vendor advisory. The maker of the software, Apache, publishes an official notice that says, in effect, here is the flaw, here are exactly which versions are affected, and here is the version you need to upgrade to in order to be safe. For Log4 Shell, that meant racing out a patched release, and then, when researchers immediately found a related gap, racing out another one right behind it. This is the part the public usually sees first and understands least. The frantic headlines, the IT teams working through the weekend, the patch now warnings, all of that traces back to this single advisory. The CVE gave everyone a shared MAME to coordinate around. The CVSS told them how urgently to move, and the advisory told them what to actually do about it. But there was still one more signal, one that cut through all the noise and said, out of the thousands of flaws out there, drop everything and fix this one first. That signal comes from a catalog called the KEV. KEV stands for Known Exploited Vulnerabilities, and in the United States, it is published by the Cybersecurity Agency, CISA, and it answers the one question that the severity score quietly leaves open. Remember, CVSS tells you how bad a flaw could be in theory, but there are tens of thousands of flaws out there, and you cannot fix them all at once. So, which one's first? The KEV catalog cuts straight through that. It is a focused list of the flaws that are not just dangerous on paper, but are actually being exploited right now, out in the wild, by real attackers. When a CVE lands on the KEV list, the message is blunt. This is no longer hypothetical. People are being hit. Patch it now. Log4 Shell was added to that catalog the very same day its record went public, with a hard deadline for government agencies to fix it within about 2 weeks. That is the difference between a scary number and a fire alarm. The score says how bad it could be. The KEV says it is already happening to someone, so move. Now step back and watch the whole machine turn, all at once. A researcher finds a real flaw in a real product. They report it privately to a CNA, the authority that can name it. The CNA assigns a CVE ID, a unique, neutral name, while MITRE keeps the master list. The record is published, and the NVD enriches it, attaching a CVSS severity score and a CWE weakness type. The vendor ships an advisory and a patch, and when attackers start actually using it, the KEV catalog flags it for everyone to fix first. That is the entire life cycle of a vulnerability, from a quiet email to a global scramble, and it runs the same way thousands of times a year, mostly without anyone noticing. Log4 Shell is just the rare one that got loud enough for the whole world to watch it happen. Every other flaw you will ever hear about walked this exact same path, and the beauty of it's that once you see the path, the alphabet soup stops being soup. Each acronym is just one station on the line. So let us bring it all the way home. The next time you see a string like CVE 2021-44228, you will not just nod and scroll past. You will read it. CVE, that is the name, a unique label for one specific flaw, carrying no judgment of its own. The year is when it was reported, and the number is just a counter, not a ranking. Then you will look for its CVSS score, 0 to 10, to learn how severe it is in theory, while remembering that severity is not the same as your risk. You will check its CVE to understand what kind of mistake it was, and you will check the KEV to find out whether attackers are using it right now, which is what really tells you how fast to move. A name, a score, a type, and a warning. That is a CVE. Fully read. It is not a virus, and it was never just one number. It is a shared language that lets the entire world point at the same flaw and agree on how to fix it. If that finally made these strings make sense, consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next breakdown.